What's going on, everybody? My name is Ace, and welcome to Ace Plays. Today we're back in Rangeview for episode 8 of building our awesome city in this really cool map. Today there's a lot of goals that I have, so I definitely want to get going as soon as possible. First things first. So I have been doing a little bit of editing offline. I did a little bit of beautification, added this path here. Nothing major, just things that maybe would be a little bit tedious to watch and add time to the videos that are already pretty long. So wanted to kind of address some things without having to increase the length of the videos. So that being said, I didn't do anything major, so there's nothing really that large that has changed. Just again, like I said, small beautification, moving roads around, just like small edits and stuff, made this a little bit more of a right angle. Nothing serious. So with that being said, there are a couple things that I'd like to do starting off, and like I said, there are several large goals that I have for this episode, and I think that's going to be pretty important that we get those addressed sooner rather than later. So first things first, I actually also did a little bit of terraforming just to make this slope here a little bit less aggressive. I could still do more, actually, just make it ever so slightly more easier to manage. I just think that's going to be a better situation when trying to merge these neighborhoods together. So it's kind of the goal we're going for here. It doesn't have to be manufactured, right? It's like it doesn't have to be super. It doesn't have to be even. I like the idea that it slopes down and it's kind of like an interesting gradient. It just adds some flavor to the neighborhood, but it does have to be workable in terms of the road system. So with that being said, we're going to start expanding, because one of the bigger goals I have for this episode is actually getting to that 7,000 population milestone, where we have quite a lot of services and things waiting for us. So I'm kind of, as you can see, the demand's sky high. We have 5,300. I definitely think we can get there, provided we continue to expand very aggressively throughout this episode. So with that being said, the reason why I'm so excited to get to 7,000 is because once we hit 7,000, we actually get access to high density, and obviously once you get to high density, that's where things start going. And the reason why I'm actually focused on high density, even it's not super important, the population growth is not super important, but when I look at the city, there are certain things that I want from it. So I want certain in order to create the proper atmosphere, the proper diversification of densities, we need access to high density. So we can't really, we're kind of being artificially limited to low density here and stuff. So I'd like to kind of get where we want to get with that neighborhood at least. So what I'm going to do is expand this neighborhood slightly. I think that should be good. The last thing I want to do is I still want it to be its own distinct thing. So I'm not going to connect it obviously straight on this block. I think what I'll do is potentially create a roundabout that links them both up, because like I said, I still want this to be a distinct area. This looks off. So I want that to be a 90. Maybe it's just I was gonna say, yeah, it's probably just the grade that makes it look off a bit, because that is a 90-degree angle, so it is correct. I do think this could be a little less sharp, and maybe pull this up a bit. Like I said, I'm not super I don't feel super compelled to make everything absolutely even and perfect. Then I think it kind of adds more character if it's not. So we're gonna continue to expand this area. I mean, obviously I said in the first episode, including Seaside Heights, that we're gonna have to support this area with more than one exit, because obviously with the size it's going to be, it's going to be quite a lot for one little area for one exit to keep up with. So with that being said, we're going to address that as well. in this episode. As you can see, I'm very serious about getting this this expansion done quickly, like I said. Kind of confused as to why it's a little off. I guess it's the change I did earlier. Because it looks like well, I guess the water system was potentially a little bit wrong because it is straight. These junctions are straight, so looks good. Yeah, again, we're just gonna need relief from this area into others. It's not gonna be possible to have this one exit handle all the traffic. And also, to be completely fair, let me just check that that's not a stop. That's not good. We don't want to stop there. Yeah, we don't want to stop in the roundabout for sure. That was an accident. Because the way it is right now, we're actually artificially limiting the traffic flow from one exit, and obviously that's not traffic 101. That's not the way to do it. And also, I mean, again, putting it into perspective, if people wanted to get from here, if they wanted to get down to the beach, they have to go this way. Whereas, in reality, they're much closer to going this way. It would take half the time. So, got to keep those things in mind. So I think what we'll do, part of me kind of wants to add support for a road that intersects with this roundabout, but I usually only do a 4-way roundabout at most, so that's not really going to work here. I think that we could potentially drag this intersection down again just to get another connection, even though it wouldn't be a high density connection per se. My other option is a roundabout here at the end and connecting them up. So I think that's probably what I'll do for now, just because I think that's going to be the most eloquent solution, with again keeping with the atmosphere of this area. And I think what I'll do is actually expand the density of the roads on the exterior. Oop, I didn't want to do that. So just on these exterior roads, just to give a little bit more capacity with respect to the main travel roads. I think it's relatively important we do that. Also want to make sure that we don't create junctions that are needless. We're not going for 6 lanes or anything. We don't have to make it artificially large, but we definitely want to support more. I know I was planning just to grow, but obviously I continue to address traffic and all that stuff as we go. So, which, I mean, it's definitely a good habit to get into, to address things as you grow, because you're less prone to having issues if you do it that way, in my opinion. Seems like this has been zone 3 tiles back this whole time when it could have been 4. So just gonna address that quickly. And this does complicate this this bus line a bit. Obviously, we need support for these other blocks too, so we definitely need to make sure that we extend it. Okay. We could even do it this way, actually. Which might be a more natural flow. Yeah, let me see all these people. This is actually, like I said, so, we talked about this before. We're going to have an episode where we really kind of do an in-depth dive into how the transit system is working, because obviously this is very odd to see. I don't even know how many people have to stop. Like, it looks like a lot. 57. It's probably that one. Yeah. Yeah, so 59 people at one stop, which is not the goal. We definitely don't want that many. We could, I think what I'll do is probably go for the articulated bus and drop it down to 5 buses per line, because that gives us the ability to support up to 50 people on a bus. But we don't need as many, because that's what it seems like. Because a lot, as you can see, when you see a line that has, let me just make sure I picked the right line. So bus line 4, the buses really weren't all at capacity, but there's a lot of people at each stop. So that really means that the buses, the line in general is not at limit, but the amount of people that each bus can take needs to be larger, because there does seem to be people that are staying at each stop, but the cadence of buses does not need to increase. It can actually probably decrease. And also, obviously, when you increase the size of the bus and keep the number of buses the same, you're going to have just more capacity. So you can afford to increase the bus capacity by twofold and decrease the bus load by about 30%. So yeah, so we'll see the first articulated bus come around soon and pick up all these people. It should be able to fit all those people in it, which should definitely be a great help for the area. Do want to check up on bus line 4, see where it is. Yeah, see, this one's already full of 60, and likely we'll see the articulated buses get filled up rather quickly. The only problem that I wish that they could they modeled the bus flow a little bit differently, because it does seem that you know, the buses are clearly coming. Obviously, this only happens when the lines begin again, but clearly all these buses are coming at the same time. So of course, if they're not staggered even slightly, they're gonna pick up one person like that, as you can see, because there's too many buses coming at one time. They should be staggered by about 20 in-game minutes or whatever that would be, but staggered by a pretty decent amount of time. Anyway, I don't want to get too caught up on that, because like I said, we're planning to address transit in an episode sooner or later, so I don't want to spend too much time on that. We're definitely going to need to address it for sure. I do think, now looking at it, we don't need that appendage type road, even though that was the bus line, but it should be fine with just what's going on. So remove that, gonna remove that, and then we should be better. Yeah. Okay. Yep, so it's kind of an interesting feature. I do like to keep everything, more separate if I can, and not in terms of the neighborhoods, but just in terms of, keeping a realistic feel. Again, we don't want the whole grid just absolutely full, so it does create a kind of. Oops. Have you noticed there's an abandoned building? No, I did not. Seems like as we've grown, the industrial demand has actually decreased, which is very, very strange. There's a high potential that we have not enough uneducated workers. Definitely possible. Yeah. That does. I mean, begs the question. We could expand potentially here and support some residential in this area, and or move the industrial zone elsewhere, potentially on the other side of this mountain, the eastern side of this mountain. We'll have to see, just because obviously it would be nice to be able to fill up this area, and I think this we're not likely going to expand into this northern area simply because the grade is just too steep. So theoretically, if we could expand north of the highway where it's a little bit more flat, that would be a better situation, in my opinion. So we're going to go on 3x just to have more and more expansion done. allow the demand to increase. And the idea with these commercial areas is to support the local area with commerce. It's an interesting, it's a very interesting asset. I feel like I haven't seen that before. It's nice. Okay, so that being said, we will continue. Continue to expand. Again, I know it's going to look peculiar perhaps, but the long-term goal with this neighborhood is, with this area, is actually to have high density. So it's going to have to grow. Obviously, if I built this neighborhood in the beginning when this was a known quantity, or when we had high density residential already available to us for zoning, then it wouldn't look as strange. But we don't unfortunately have that available to us at the moment, so we really can't complain too much. I do want to adjust the slope a bit. I'm going to bring the surrounding area to where I'd want it to be, and then I will drop the road down with move it. My soil deposit as well. I didn't even know that was a mechanic within within the landscaping. I didn't even know that. Okay, that worked pretty well. It is going to be a pretty interesting high density area, I'll tell you that, on a very interesting slope. And again, I'm building these blocks a bit bigger now because I'm thinking in terms of there being high density in these blocks. So and this will definitely extend, so I'll be careful with the intersections. Yeah, and at the moment we really don't have the residential demand to support all this, but I think just kind of earmarking where we're going to be putting everything and pre-zoning isn't going to hurt us. Definitely is not going to hurt us, so why not go ahead and do it? And it might actually be the kickstart that this area needs, so it's not a bad idea in the slightest. Again, we have to be careful not to create too much infrastructure in an area that's not actually bringing in tax revenue, because that could definitely be a bad idea in terms of our financials. Not in terms of the aesthetic, but the financials certainly. Yeah, you see, so it does. When you have buildings already built, it does create kind of a weird situation with leveling the area with terrain tools. So if you're going to be doing that, you should probably plan it before you zone, actually. As you can see, it's kind of created a weird situation for some of these. But we can fix it with move it, so it's fine. There's really nothing you can't do with move it, so it's quite nice, I have to say. Too much soil, yeah, I don't know how to deal with that. Is there anywhere we need to add soil? That's a good question. Kind of deposit it along this ridge just to get a little more soil availability. There you go, perfect. That's a much more relaxing gradient, or I don't know what the right word is, like a a less aggressive gradient for that side, certainly. Going to continue to expand down the western side of the coast in terms of electricity. I did just see a flood issue, so I want to make sure that we're all good on that. Again, just focusing really on, heavily on expansion here. So going to attempt to build out this area without too much stress on the local road network. I don't know. I honestly am not 100% sure it's possible. So what I'm going to do is build in mind with not connecting these areas. Again, the idea would be only by this, because obviously I do want to maximize the amount of zoning we do get, but I do want to maintain this this road here. It's definitely, in my opinion, it's a nice aesthetic. Looks good for the area. So, okay. What we could do, which I think is probably going to be the better bet, is make this a connection to the lower road, and by doing that, that'll make it less out of the way, or it will take it out of the way of the expansion of the future high density residential area. I don't know, I'm having such trouble with this. There we go. And I think that the utility of this is that it creates just a less, a more natural divide. So it's kind of what I'm looking for. It doesn't have to be like, I don't want it to get too close to the road, for example. So again, maybe keeping this area designated for a park, at a tourism and leisure park, that would be probably a great idea. You notice another abandoned industrial. That's kind of strange, I have to say. I'm kind of surprised by that, but I guess nothing is too shocking when it comes to this game. So yeah, I'm going to, keep this area D-zoned for a park. Definitely will bring a lot of value to this area here. See, we're getting a lot of it is because we're on 3x speed, so things are progressing rather quickly, but definitely getting more and more demand for residential. Have the potential to hit that 7,000 pretty shortly here, I think. Although we will run into land issues, I presume, because we just don't have that much more land. This is why I'm trying to push for the high density, because the high density is kind of imperative to continue to expand in this area. There's just not enough land for the amount of people with the realistic mod. Yeah, and we also want to be careful not zoning too much of this tourism based commercial, because the tourism based commercial obviously has more limitations to the type of people that can go and stuff, so you end up having potentially worse outcomes for those businesses if they're zoned within that specialization area. I'm going to expand Seaside Heights. I don't consider it the same neighborhood, but just because being so close to each other, these areas are going to have convergent expectations in terms of their policy and stuff, so I think it's not a bad idea to have those connect. I think I'm going to actually scrap the idea I had before And I will address that in a better way, but I do think we're going to end up needing all this land anyway. So I really don't want to limit the expansion too much. So I think the way we'll do this is just by bringing it down even more. I am thinking, in all honesty, it doesn't have to be that type of road. It can be. No, you know what? We will want that type of road actually. I'll figure it out. Yeah, I mean, like, part of my thought process is like, do we even need this road? Does it serve a purpose? And I think the reason why I originally did it this way, and the reason why I kind of want to maintain the road, is because I feel like it does serve an important purpose for the tourism area, and we can continue to expand the tourism economy down this stretch of road here. So I do think it's important to maintain. Not sure if everyone agrees, so it might be a singular opinion, but I definitely think it's likely that, yeah, as you can see, there is demand. So kind of silly to artificially limit the tourism to the leftmost side. Yeah, I do like having these all even, so we'll strive for that if we can. So as you can see, that's like just interesting to have another, just, you know, continued depth of the commercial area. I think moving forward, I definitely will fix the angles and stuff. And the way you would do that is just cutting off this. The reason why I supported the diagonals is because of this main diagonal road, but I think realistically we should probably continue the grid layout and kind of sack this diagonal road here. So I think, you know, we'll do that quick just because it'll give us more usable space and in the end better expansion capabilities. So what we'll do is stop that diagonal road there, and then we'll rebuild with the grid in mind. And because we are a relatively mature city at this point in time, these areas' populations are not really in jeopardy. I'm not too worried about doing all this destruction, because in the end of the day, the amount of expansion that we'll see after will be absolutely worth it. And just visually, I didn't like the way it looked prior, so. You do that hack again. Yeah, if you're having issues like snapping onto the roundabouts, you can just build right through them, and you will get better behavior there. I do want to keep this road kind of contouring, so I don't want to do too much messing around, but if we can, we should make it at least realistic, because as this grows, it's going to be really hard to manage with the road structure we had in place previously. So just kind of going back and rehashing that is going to be a good idea. That's the one thing I don't like, though. Obviously, with the roundabout tool, whenever you connect roundabouts in strange ways, you get like super ugly roundabouts. I'm gonna try that again. Oh what we'll do is bring this side south a bit. Again, the idea here being to create a more sustainable road structure. It does beg the question of what's the right way to address this cutoff here. I think likely just a shoot off from that side is going to be the best bet. And I know that this might look stupid or it might not look good right now, but just bear with me as it will come, it'll come together shortly here. Promise you that. We do have this park here. I think, again, just to... what is that again? Oh, that's the... Let's see. Move that. Like, in my opinion, even though we obviously don't want to demolish that much, it's also something that we should have addressed earlier, so I'm not, like, super annoyed about doing this, because, again, it's something that should have been addressed. So it's okay kind of going back and rectifying that now. And again, this whole western area, this whole eastern area will be high density and built out for high density shortly. So I'm not super worried about what's going to happen to this kind of low density structure that we have currently. It's not going to be in place in a couple in a couple episodes at the very most, and potentially this episode if we can get to 7,000 quickly enough. So I'm going to continue, and obviously we're going to see a sharp decline in the population quickly because we demolished quite a bit of land and quite a bit of zoning, so that's natural to see. But I think we'll see things come together shortly. I see, this is the entrance. So maybe should move it. Gotta kind of adjust the bounds of the park a bit here. We have these houses kind of in here. It's kind of funny. Oh, one thing I wanted to do was actually place some elder care in this area by the beach. Kind of adds a nice diversification of uses, and also it does kind of goes with the theme that there would be elder care in this area. Kind of reminds me of Florida a bit, kind of like Clearwater. It looks very similar. There's like big buildings, but you know, it's still Florida. And I don't mean that bad way, just in terms of that it's still rural to a degree, not like a super big city or anything, but there are bigger buildings and still support for elder care and stuff like that. So yeah, we're gonna keep that in mind here. That should, like I said, I was gonna say that it should boost demand. So it definitely spiked demand quite a bit here. So that's always a good thing to see. Obviously, the more amenities an area has, the more attractive it's going to be to potential residents. So it does add up. You can see the population already rebounded, so that's great. And I think honestly that kind of like does it for this area. If I had access to this eastern plot, I would continue to expand a little bit eastward, but it's not even that necessary because I do in the future see this as a nature preserve that we'll create for the community. So I don't even think it's that necessary. Do have some population issues here, and of course, as always, there will be transit issues without when we're developing this quickly. So, and I think like a couple episodes from now, what we'll do likely is just completely destroy the existing transit networks and then rebuild them with the current population size in mind. And I don't know, I slightly regret building out this purchasing this side the way I did, because in reality there's just not that much developable land in this square here. I mean, it's basically nothing, so we're gonna have to figure out a way to get what we want out of this area regardless. And I think because we're kind of stuck here in terms of expansion, oops, it's got to be a bit closer, I guess. I'm gonna build that in. I'll fix that in a second, so no need to worry. I don't know why they're so high up. Looks super silly. Should fix themselves now. No. I will fix the terraforming. Obviously, these are supposed to be in the water, so don't worry. There we go. So yeah, we kind of added a bit of depth here for the water. That's all good. Oh, I did forget. I was planning on doing this upper neighborhood by building up. So why don't, you know what? We'll get back to this area. It'll definitely be a big part of our city, I think. But just for right now, it is kind of like a stopgap solution for growth. And I think if we could continue to grow up this slope here, why not? Just keep it all together until it's not, right? So yeah, kind of just thinking ahead, thinking whoa, what just happened there? That's weird. Doesn't have to be the biggest roundabout. It's not a huge area. Oops. I love how I just said that and made it the biggest roundabout we have by far. Yeah, it's probably just going to be ugly regardless of what happens, just because of the size of it. Okay, so it's just happening because of where it is, I think. So I think what we can do to fix that is to make it a big one. That might just give us the help we need here. Gonna level this area slightly so that there's no strange road behavior. There we go. Awesome. So perfect. It looks great. Yeah, so this should give us the ability to develop this area without too much of a hassle. Kind of have to decide where we want the grid to lay out here. It's going to be difficult regardless because of the strange road curve that's going to happen by following the highway. There we go. There we go. That's kind of what I'm looking for. And yeah, I mean, you could tell already this is going to be a challenging area to develop just by the nature of what it is. But we're going to accept that challenge for sure. I mean, I think it's something we can do, and we can make it look pretty nice. And I would feel kind of weird just leaving all this open land just kind of undeveloped. So why not do it? Oh, not enough. Oh my god, I didn't even realize our money situation. Jeez, it's pretty bad. Pretty bad. Get some taller ones. This is the tree brush mod, so trying to fill in the area a little bit. Takes away from the sharp terrain differences, I think. Yeah, just gonna add a bit of trees here. Great, yes, that kind of takes away from the sharpness of the inclination. Adds a bit of texture, also does give a bit of a noise barrier there. And these people, they do have electricity, that's wonderful. And we could I could foresee actually having some residential on this left side of the road. You're kind of expecting this area to be just a high land value as well. I think that this whole area is likely to have a high land value, even the whole city. But again, looking at these areas that have nice views of the water, relatively close to the beach, will have parks and stuff. That's where you're going to see the most of it. Got another kind of issue down here, which is, again, it's just there's not enough customers, and the reason we're seeing that is because it was built in mind with a high density structure in terms of capacity, and we're just not there. The crime rate was high because it doesn't have any access to the road. That's why you see that. Anyway, yeah. So this district was built in mind with having high density in the area, but we don't have that. So it does make sense to see what we're seeing here. And I think once we get access to the high density residential, we'll be right there. But yeah, I think we should probably leave it there for this episode. This episode's already getting very long. I'd like to thank you guys for stopping by. I really appreciate it. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe if you like a bunch of my videos, as I post relatively often. So I'm going to try and keep up that cadence and get a couple of guides out soon as well. So again, just want to thank you guys for watching. I appreciate it as always. And I know we didn't get to 7,000, but I do think next time we'll be much closer to getting there. So I want to again say thank you, and I will see you guys in the next video.